Welcome to So Many Receipts. I'm Flo Michelle.
And I'm Shelley Seddon.
And we are two entertainment journos based in Sydney, Australia who love to analyse and talk about all things reality, TV and pop culture.
Each week on Receipt Roundup, we bring you our take on what's trending.
This week on the show, we update new Bravo series, The Real Housewives of London, the most shocking doco on Netflix, Unknown Number, the laughable truth about Jussie Smollett, and our pick to win Australian Survivor versus the World. But first, we have been on a break for a few weeks and we are kicking off the show with something that launched while we've been away, a brand new Housewives franchise, The Real Housewives of London, which is now up to episode 3.
So this actually isn't a Bravo show, it's a Hayu show, so it's not even airing in the US.
Isn't it? So
No.
they're not going to see it in the States at all?
No. So Bravo does have a UK show in the works, though. They've rebooted the much-loved Ladies of London with an all-new cast, and production has just wrapped.
Wow. So is it going to be like the old Ladies of London from about 10 years ago, which was 3 Brits and 3 American expats? Is it something like that?
So I loved that format. So it hasn't been confirmed whether they're still doing that. But I have to say, I do love shows that are set in London and the whole vibe. But the women on this show, I feel like they look like they're from the 80s style-wise. The hair, the makeup, it's all very Dynasty.
Oh, no, you're right. They do.
And it's also odd because there are only 5 housewives, and the American in the cast, her name's Juliet Angus. She was originally on Ladies of London, and apparently she doesn't show up until episode 5. There are only 10 episodes in this series, and production apparently scrambled to add Juliet in the middle of the season to spice things up.
That's so weird. Why? Because it was looking really dull to everybody?
Yeah, I think maybe. But the thing is, she appears in the opening credits, and then she's also doing the after show now, even though she's not on the on TV. And this week she said, "I can't believe you all went to the Cotswolds without me." I'm like, yeah, because you're not on the show yet.
Oh no. Okay, so on the bright side, can I just say, I am so relieved that this Housewives show is not like the other UK Housewives show, which is The Real Housewives of Cheshire. So we did a segment on that one a few months ago where I read Cheshire the Riot Act, because on that show they do this very odd, very British thing of staged confessionals. So that's where the producers write the lines themselves and they then ask the cast person to repeat them in a completely hammy, bad acting, over-the-top way that completely ruins the show. So they did it on Geordie Shore, which actually worked on that. It was funny. But on Cheshire, it's like this terrible pantomime that they deliver. I am so relieved that in this Real London show, Real Housewives of London, the confessionals are just like everywhere else and are delivered authentically by the ladies. At least there's that.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you about how it compared to the other UK housewives. And so it does seem like there's some genuine beef so far, which is between the Australian Juliet Mayhew and Panthea Parker, which is the best villain name ever, I have to say.
It's almost like you're saying the Pink Panther.
Yes. So Juliet from Australia has actually lived in London since she was 12 and went to boarding school there. And she apparently ran a leather goods brand and now works as an interior designer and event planner, but she refers to herself as an actor and a singer. And talk about beating a very old, very dead horse. Panthea's son went to a dentist who was a friend of Juliet's, and he went there to get his retainer fixed, but instead he ended up coming home with a mouthful of fillings, and Panthea was, outraged, and Juliet sided with the dentist.
There's a fight about a dentist?
I know.
Wow.
And the thing was, this incident happened 6 years ago, and the two have seen each other socially, and Juliet thought everything was fine between them. But at the first event, Panthea comes in hot, calling Juliet fake and also accusing her of borrowing dresses.
Well, is the implication maybe that Juliet isn't rich enough to afford a $5,000 Gucci dress?
I guess that's what she's implying, but I don't understand why this is so scandalous, because celebs in LA and stylists borrow dresses all of the time for events and photo shoots, and influencers borrow things. Everybody borrows everything these days. And I would say they are the smart ones. They're not paying retail for something they wear once.
Yeah. So, for me, this show at the moment is kind of on the same level as The Real Housewives of Sydney. It's Housewives Light.
Yes.
I'm not sure Brits and Aussies know how to do this kind of show because their interactions and fights, etc., they just don't have the same type of energy and spice that the US Housewives shows have. I'm not sure it's going to lift to the next level.
Yeah, I agree. British people get freaked out about people raising their voices. And, British people don't talk about things. They don't talk about beef. But I did love this week's episode in the Cotswolds. And I would love to have a country house, hounds and grounds. It's like, goals, life goals. And I actually love the fashion. And I have to say, I wasn't a huge fan of the American Juliet Angus, but I think it will be good to have her on the show just to have a break from it all being about Panthea.
Yeah, I didn't mind Juliet Angus from 10 years ago. I mean, God, it's a long time though, isn't it? Oh, anyway, closer to home. And how sad is this? This week, this Sunday night, is the very last time we'll ever see Jonathan LaPaglia hosting Australian Survivor.
I know. It's our last rendezvous with JLP.
And I have to say, Australian Survivor versus the World has been great TV, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's been one of the best Survivor seasons ever. And it's so ironic that it's JLP's last one. And actually, my daughter, who is a Survivor superfan, said something funny because you know how Shawnee was just voted out. So you know how they show them talking to camera after they get the boot? And Shawnee said something like, "Oh, I don't mind that I got voted out because anyway, Jonathan, I'm coming for your job." And my daughter said, "Ooh, considering this show was shot a year ago, that comment did not age well." I was like, yeah, yikes. Because we now know that, of course, poor old JLP ended up getting the boot himself with the sack a few months ago. An ex-contestant from this season, David Genat, ended up getting his job.
Yes. So I do have to say, David is so charismatic and good looking and smart. And I actually... I love JLP, but I'm also team Golden God.
Yeah, thank God. At least it's David taking it over.
Yes, so two things can be true at once. I love them both. So the thing that I hate on Survivor is these alpha males coming in and treating other tribe members like they're minions and telling them how things are going to go, and everyone just falls into line. So I have to say, this series, all of the big threats were voted out immediately, which I loved, except I did want to see Golden God David because I'd never seen him on Survivor before. So I was looking forward to a season of eye candy, but no, he was the first person the Aussies voted out. I mean, at least keep him around until merge.
We got dad bods instead.
Yes, George.
Yeah, and I also thought it was odd that for both the Aussie and the World tribes, there were 4 women to 3 men on each tribe, right?
Yeah.
It gave the women on both tribes an immediate advantage, I feel, but maybe producers wanted it that way as they were just really hoping a woman would win or get to the end. Just seemed unfair.
Yeah, well, so this lack of male eye candy made me so upset. I can't even talk. I'm so upset. It drove me to watch the most ridiculous show on television, Deal or No Deal Island. So I also wanted to see David's relationship with Parvati, and oh my God, this was the best show ever. David and Parvati were this massive power couple.
This was that American show hosted by Joe
Manganiello,
yes,
Sofia Vergara's ex-husband. Yeah. So I have to say, this show is a masterclass in strategy. No one but Parvati knew who David was, and he ended up winning $5.8 million US dollars. That is the biggest game show win in TV history. And if I didn't already know the outcome and that he won all this money, I would have had a heart attack. It was that intense.
You know, they have been so stupid in keeping Parvati around for this long. They got rid of all the huge threats at the beginning, but she is absolutely one of the more dangerous ones. And she just charmed people into letting her stay.
Yeah.
And the further she gets along in the game, the harder it is to beat someone like her. I really, really want Luke to win, but my pick to win is Parvati. I think she's too strong.
Yeah, I feel like Parvati's just playing next level, but I don't understand why she kept Luke around. He kept winning all of the challenges, and he told Parvati about his idol. I really don't think...
that is not great, Luke.
Luke is not a strategic mastermind. And Sportsbet says the most money is now on Parvati to win, and she's definitely outplayed everyone so far. I love her.
Oh, poor Luke. I love Crazy Luke. I love a bit of Crazy Luke.
Yes.
But I've always worried about his mental capabilities in this game whenever he plays.
Yeah. Well, so I've become kind of obsessed with Parvati. And did you know she's come out as queer? Like,
really? What?
Yes, she was married to this guy. They have a daughter together, but she's been dating this comedian named Mae Martin since 2003. So that flirting with Kirby was real.
Oh, is that why I kept seeing articles about them flirting? I didn't understand that. Now that makes sense.
Exactly. And I had to look it up because her and David were doing a lot of flirting on Deal or No Deal Island as well. She was sitting on his lap.
I think she flirts with everyone.
I know, exactly. And David called her his dream girl. I mean,
He's married.
I know, with 4 kids.
Yes.
I know. But anyway.
Yeah. And we did a TikTok about Parvati recently, which drew interest because I found out that she was actually raised in a cult-like commune in the US. Did you know that?
Yeah, because I'm obsessed with her.
Yeah, and so she and her parents lived there for the first 9 years of her life. And this guru-like leader took followers' money. He dished out punishments. He even told parents to hand over their newborn babies to him so he could adopt them. So she's got a new book out and she says this all. And she says that this chaotic upbringing sharpened her wits, and that was instrumental in her winning Survivor 17 years ago, and is generally why she's now one of the world's best players.
Yes, love her. So on to the Real Housewives of Orange County and the never-ending saga of Katie Janela, which this week involved a lie detector test of all things.
I love a lie detector test.
So we're supposedly getting to the bottom of some dry-aged beef that happened 15 years ago. I think this is a new record. But because I've only been watching OC for 2 seasons, I had to go back in time and figure this out. So hang on to your hats.
Back to different faces too when you look back at it.
So try and follow this. Tamra says 2 different people told her that blogger Kiki Monique said that Katie told her that Gretchen had said that Tamra roofied her, which is, drugging her, during a party that came to be known as Naked and Wasted Night. So I need a flow chart for this. And for those of us who weren't watching, this happened in season 4. We are now on season 19.
And for me, this just goes to show that if you do enough TikToks like Kiki Monique has done, sooner or later you wind up on TV. That's enough motivation for me to keep going.
So she has a show called Reality Checked on Radio Andy. I looked this up. That's Andy Cohen's channel on Sirius XM. And her co-host is Dorinda Medley.
Oh.
We need Andy to sign us up.
Oh, gosh.
So anyway, this Naked and Wasted Night was when Tamara had the cast over for dinner, and Tamara and Vicky decided to get Gretchen really drunk so she would cheat on her fiancé with Tamara's adult son, Ryan, who was bartending at the dinner. But there were no actual drugs involved.
And then, so you see on the last episode, Kiki Monique herself showing up to that restaurant and telling Gretchen and Gina that Katie did tell her that Gretchen had to go to the hospital after Naked and Wasted because she was drugged. But I noticed that Kiki was only allowed to stick around for 1 drink. One glass of wine before she was kind of shoved out the door. Obviously, they weren't enamored of her company enough for a full meal.
Yes. So I have to say, we do have a lot of shady party games in Housewives world, but I think not letting your guests drink and then hooking them up to a lie detector test is probably the shadiest that I've seen. And I was thinking, this is the first time we've seen a lie detector, but then I remembered Lucy Applejuice on Beverly Hills and Lisa Vanderpump hooking herself up to a lie detector to prove she didn't leak stories to the press about Dorit giving a rescue dog back.
And I remember in that scene, the lie detector guy asking her whether she knew Dorit had any plastic surgery work done. And she says, I think she has, and she passes.
Oh, my God.
So she has. Of course she has.
Of course she has. I don't remember that, but that is freaking hilarious. And I have to say, this lie detector test seemed dodgy. The women were wearing lots of clothes, and they had the equipment hooked up on top of their clothes. Plus, Katie said she was anxious. She was throwing up beforehand. And the tester said, oh, don't worry, that won't affect the result. But if you are measuring heart rate, breathing, finger moisture, fidgeting, etc., all of those things are affected by anxiety.
Yes, true. And I read that Katie said she found out that the lie detector people all paid actors anyway.
Really?
Don't know if that's true or not. I did think it was funny that they didn't let these lie detector people explain more of their backgrounds, because Dr. Phil gets in his lie detector guy all the time and it's always very official. This is Jack Tremarco, ex-FBI lie detector expert, blah, blah, blah. Here with these people, nothing.
Yeah, it gives them credibility. Yeah, it gives them credibility of an FBI guy. But I did think this was totally sus. And so Katie failed miserably, but Gretchen passed, even though we saw her tell Tamara and Shannon in the Sprinter van that she did go to the hospital because she was so sick. So Gretchen keeps changing her story.
It's all very strange. We definitely need an Excel spreadsheet.
Yes.
So according to this test, Katie was supposedly lying about everything all along, but she seemed so resolute in that she was telling the truth. That's strange too. Also, interestingly, even though this maybe proves she lied, people are overwhelmingly on her side on social media. Yeah, saying she should sue Bravo for an unsafe work environment because it seems like she's just being bullied by all the other women. And then I've even seen people write, I don't care if she failed the lie detector test. She's still the nicest one.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think some people lie, but they actually think in their mind they're telling the truth.
Yes.
And I'll discuss this more when we talk about the Jussie Smollett doco later. But I think that might be part of what's going on with Katie. I think she's convinced herself that her version of events is actually the truth.
So if we think that maybe the lie detector test was actually legit, maybe that's why she seems so fastidious in her truth, but she failed.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So whatever the truth is, this whole Katie leaks things to bloggers storyline, it's actually getting really tedious.
It's the entire show this season. Like every single episode. Actually, we're not up to episode 8. We're still talking about this.
So they kicked Katie out of the lie detector party, the Persian party, and apparently she was put on a little pause after this event because there is an upcoming girls' trip to Amsterdam, and production wouldn't let Katie go even though she wanted to.
Although they'll probably still be talking about it on the trip, even though she's not there.
Yeah, what else is there to talk about? So Rose and Thorn time, and my rose this week is for a wild, just released doco called Unknown Number, The High School Catfish on Netflix. It's about a pair of Michigan high school students who are stalked by a vicious cyberbully, and this catfisher knows intimate details about this teenage couple, Lauren Licari and her boyfriend Owen. And parents and school officials can't figure out who's behind this. And I always find that these catfishing stories are really crazy with the amount of messages and the length of time it goes on. This one went on for like almost 2 years. People are saying, you know, once they found out who was behind all of these messages, they went back and rewatched the doco because they were so shocked. And if you don't want to know who the catfisher was, fast forward now.
Yes, spoiler alert. So someone has been sending Lauren vile text messages, a person who's apparently a love rival trying to get Lauren to basically break up with Owen. This person says the most repulsive things about the way Lauren looks, all sorts of sexual things, and even tells Lauren to go and do away with herself. And sickeningly, it turns out the catfish all along was Lauren's own mother, Kendra Licari.
So I would have never guessed it was her. I mean, what the actual F? And these messages were awful. There were 40 to 50 messages a day, and some were really sexually explicit, and other messages were body shaming her. I mean, this poor girl's like, you know, a young teenage girl talking about her body and calling her an anorexic bitch and saying she had a flat ass. It was awful.
It's beyond sick, because what if it had actually led to Lauren actually harming herself? I mean, it's so hard to wrap your head around how a mum could do that to her own child.
Well, so the obvious question is, why would she do this? And I think Kendra was completely obsessed with Lauren. And one parent said, you know, everything was Lauren's softball, Lauren's school, Lauren this, Lauren that. So one of my pet peeves is parents who talk about nothing but their children. Like it was like Lauren's life was her life. And in the doco, they mention a new term called cyber Munchausen. So this trend, Munchausen by internet, is where parents cyberbully their own children. So just the same way that some parents fake illness in their child to satisfy their own psychological needs, they want to appear like super mom and get people to rally around them and their child, and it's messed up.
I do think there is some of that going on with this Kendra woman, but I've also got another armchair theory. I kind of got the impression that she, as the mum, was actually jealous of the daughter.
Yes.
So I looked this up, and there's actually lots of psych sites that talk about this phenomenon. And I saw something in Psychology Today that says a mother can be jealous of her daughter for many reasons, like her looks, her youth, the achievements, the girl's relationship with her father. Maybe he's jealous of the relationship with the boyfriend. Because I kept watching this thinking, this girl Lauren is so sweet and pretty and nice. Why would this mum, Kendra Licari, want to torment her with these vile texts and potentially ruin her life when she's got everything going for her? And then when I read up on it, apparently some narcissistic mothers, even if they say they love their daughter or their child, they also want to hurt them at the same time. So I got the impression that she just really wanted to hurt Lauren on some level.
Yeah. So we also have an ironic Bravo connection. There is a movie loosely based on this case called Mommy Meanest, and it's starring none other than Lisa Rinna. So Lisa was the one who brought up Munchausen relating to Yolanda's illness on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Rinna would have been so good in that. I think she's a good actress.
Yeah,
actually,
I kind of want to see that. So, and I actually thought Kendra's defense was jaw-dropping. She said something like, "We've all done something illegal. Haven't you ever driven while drunk?" Just trying to, dismiss
wave it away.
Yes, and then she blamed the fact that she was sexually assaulted when she was 19, and she wanted to protect her daughter and keep her away from boys. And there was also speculation that she was obsessed with Owen, who was 12 at the time he started a relationship with her daughter.
Yeah, that was just, ugh. And I thought that explanation of this happened to me, I was just trying to protect my daughter, I thought that was too neat and tidy. And I thought that email that she sent Lauren from jail was so appalling. Yeah. The one that said, "I'm mad at you. You made me sad. You only said bye. You didn't say I love you. But I forgive you. I love you," with 13 hugs and kisses after it. I mean, are you kidding me, lady? After all you've done to this poor girl, you are still hurting her, making her feel bad and still screaming out for attention like she was love bombing and then she was hurting her.
Yeah, she's
so twisted. Like she's probably got like 7 different neuroses going on.
Yeah,
right?
I agree. There's a lot going on. She's so manipulative. And so Kendra was released from prison in August 2024. And I did some research, and from what I can find, she hasn't seen Lauren and she's divorced from her husband. And the director said when they first interviewed Lauren in 2023, when her mom first went to jail, she still wanted to have a relationship with her mom. But when they interviewed her again in 2024, she was more cautious. So I'm interested to find out what's going on now.
Yeah, so my thorn for this week is for another Netflix doco, The Truth About Jussie Smollett. So this is a thorn on my side because, well, it's just a bit silly, this whole case, right? Plus, I didn't think that the directors made enough of the only question mark in this whole story for me, which I'll get into in a sec. So basically, Jussie is a black gay actor. He was on a show called Empire back in 2019 when one freezing night he went out for some food. He claimed he was attacked by 2 white men who bashed him, put a noose around his neck, and they left him to die on the ground whilst they were shouting racist and homophobic slurs at him. So even though he was on Empire, I think it's fair to say that 99.9% of the world had no idea who Jussie Smollett was before this incident, because after it happened, it was suddenly huge worldwide news. And then we all knew his name.
Yeah, right. I'd never heard of him before this happened.
I had never even heard of Empire either. It's then revealed after an investigation that he actually made the whole thing up. He paid 2 black guys who were 2 extras from Empire to beat him up in a PR stunt so people would know his name, and then he would be the hero because he'd then start talk about, he would, go on the tour, I suppose, about black activism or something. And he was convicted of staging a hate crime hoax, but that conviction was overturned last year due to legal loopholes, blah, blah, blah. But many people still believe he did it, including me.
Yeah, me too. So this is where I think Jussie believes what he is saying, and he has somehow convinced himself that his story is true. And to me, the whole debacle is about 2 words: polar vortex.
Yes, because polar vortex is mentioned many times in this documentary.
Yes, because Chicago's known as the Windy City, and during the winter it gets effing cold, and then the polar vortex is next level cold. So if you go outside, you will freeze and die if you're outside for more than 15 minutes. And I actually Googled to see what the temperatures were during the crime, and it was around negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. I can't even convert that to Celsius. So officials would have been warning people to stay inside. It's life-threatening. And even the police chief said, who would go out when it was cold as shit?
Because the story goes that Jussie flew back into Chicago that night from somewhere, and then he got hungry for food. So he went out at 2 a.m. to get something to eat.
Yeah, so no one, unless they had an extremely good reason, would be out in that weather at 2 a.m. And people in Chicago would understand that this weather is life-threatening and no joke.
And one of the most bizarre aspects of this case is that the food he potentially risked his life for in these freezing temperatures was Subway.
So that night he had just flown back into Chicago. So if he was hungry when he landed, why would he not have gone through a drive-thru to get food on his way home, or call Uber Eats or DoorDash or whatever?
I'm also wondering why he apparently had no food in the house, according to him. Like, you can't make yourself a piece of toast? You don't have toast in your bread in your freezer. What about frying an egg? What about cereal, an apple, anything? Anyway, the Subway sandwich actually got a lot of attention from investigators because even after he'd apparently been bashed and left for dead. He then got up and picked up the subway bag, which was completely intact. You'd think the food would go flying out of it. No, it was just not even touched. And he returned home with the bag in his hand. I mean, you'd have to really love Subway to have the presence of mind to remember to pick the bag up and take it home with you. Yeah. And I think the police missed a vital clue in not noting down what kind of Subway sandwich Jussie went out for. So apparently in the States, the least popular Subway sandwich, I can't believe I looked it up. I did. But it is the turkey, meat and salad one. And if he'd picked that sandwich untoasted on a freezing night, then it would have been case closed a lot faster because no one would go out for that at 2 a.m., right? However, if he got the most popular one in the States, which is the BMT, which is salami, ham and pepperoni, toasted, then maybe I could understand why he would consider braving a blizzard for that, maybe?
Well, so Jussie actually said he went to Walgreens first, which is actually a pharmacy, like a chemist warehouse. But this particular Walgreens also had a mini mart section, kind of like a 7-Eleven, where you could grab snacks like soda, chips or chocolate, etc. But it was closed, so he ended up going to Subway because it was open 24 hours.
But that makes even less sense. Why would you go to Walgreens for snacks at 2 a.m.? Why would you brave a polar vortex for a bag of chips?
I guess he was really
or
really
a Kit
hungry.
Kat. God. I mean, what Subway sandwich would you go out for?
Well, I hate cold weather. I would rather starve than freeze my ass off and go get something to eat.
I do love Subway, but I mean, my favorite is the Italian meatball sub with melted cheese. But I would literally have to be coming straight off naked and afraid or alone, having not eaten for weeks or months, to even consider going out for it at 2 a.m. at any night.
Yeah, it's all so ridiculous. And there were so many things that didn't make sense. So these two white men he speaks of supposedly recognized Jussie, hurled slurs at him, and attacked him. But I have to say, MAGA guys do not watch Empire. Please. They would be watching Yellowstone. And Streeterville, which is the neighborhood where Jussie lived, it's very safe. It's known as being a very affluent area. It is hardly MAGA country. And I have to say, Chicago as a whole is a very Democratic-leaning city. It's where the Obamas are from.
That's right.
And who wanders around at 2 a.m. in a polar vortex with a noose and bleach? So the doco didn't mention that the attackers actually also poured bleach on him. I think that's an important detail.
Oh, this whole thing. And the only time I went, was the revelation that both a security guard and a neighbor claimed that they saw a white man or white men in hoodies lurking around by themselves at that time. However, it's just mentioned, like the filmmakers don't really explore that very much. The other thing I didn't think made sense was why Jussie would think it was a good idea to even do this doco in the first place. This absolutely makes him look like a total fool when you hear the whole story. Apparently, he wanted to do it to try to revive his career, but does he seriously believe all publicity, even very, very, very bad publicity, is good publicity?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But I have to say, I think the actual star of this doco was the lawyer for the two brothers who were accused of the crime. Her name is Gloria Rodriguez. She is an absolute legend.
And anyone who has the courage to put braces on their teeth past the age of 40 and just rock it and say, to hell with it, I just want to fix my teeth, is a badass.
Yes. So I am giving out another rose this week to The Real Housewives of Miami because I think it's the best Housewives franchise at the moment.
Of what's currently on?
Yes.
There's only Orange County in London. There's not much to choose from.
True.
See, my fave is of all time is Salt Lake. The trailer for the new season's just dropped too, and it just looks epic.
Yes. Well, Salt Lake.
Love them.
Salt Lake is my other favorite. But back to the Miami girls, it is day 5 of the Spanish adventure, and the women are on a day trip to Marbella via Stephanie's private jet. And they've been separated into smaller groups this entire trip because there is so much fighting. And Stephanie is micromanaging a 22-minute flight because these bitches cannot get along. And Alexia and Marisol, they are so over Stephanie talking about her stupid private jet. They decide to bail on the trip. And I would just say that Alexia and Marisol should have jumped on that plane because Stephanie and Masood are reportedly having money problems and the jet might not be around that much longer. I'm just saying.
So here is my message to Stephanie. Steph, step away from the black Amex credit card. Put the card down. All this excessive flashing of cash is starting to get really irritating. I'm not surprised she might be having money problems. Yeah. She said that jet trip cost her $40,000 to fly them all to a city 20 minutes away. Some of the housewives, as we say, didn't even appreciate it. Bravo would have picked up the tab for a Sprinter van.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? You don't need to do this. She should be taking a leaf out of Dr. Nicole Martin's book. So we did a TikTok not long ago about how jaw-droppingly rich Nicole is. Robbie Williams just bought a mansion in Florida for $40 million. And lots of people in the comments said she might be mega wealthy, but I really like her because she comes across as humble and down to earth. And she doesn't really flash the cash.
Yeah.
Stephanie is just looking like she's trying to buy everyone's favour for storylines. I bet you Stephanie will end up alienating viewers.
Well, so the whole point of this side trip is so Julia can ask a pair of rich gay men to be godfathers to her and Martina's newly adopted sons. And Julia also mentions the rift with her adult daughters again. And she says that they aren't speaking to her because she didn't tell them they were adopting the boys. So I thought the girls didn't, think the adoption was a good idea. I didn't realize that they were told after it already happened. It is such a sketchy situation.
Weird.
It's weird. But we have to talk about Lisa's behavior. This mansion in Marbella is stunning and giving White Lotus vibes in a good way. And Lisa is tipsy and she starts saying things like, we only drink Dom and Beluga, which is actually caviar, but whatever.
I can't see her eating caviar anyway. I think she's more burger and fries.
Well, I think she would eat caviar because she thinks that's what rich people do. But then she announces, I love this rich people dinner. I feel like I want to be classier. I want to hold the glass by the stem. And I feel like I need to be super elegante. And I want to talk the rich people language. So then she gets up and does this toast, and you can see everyone cringing. It is so desperate and tacky. And as the Countess Luann would say, money can't buy you class.
Was she trying to be funny? Like, she's very rich herself.
Yeah.
She was rich when she was with Lenny. She's still rich with Jodie.
I know. I think
she is rich.
I know. I think she was being totally serious. And she told Stephanie at Julia's baby shower she wanted to be friends with her because she has a private jet. It's just so tacky. So I have to say, on the last day of the trip, the women put on these flamenco dresses and they looked fabulous. And I am not a pink person, but I thought Alexia looked absolutely gorgeous in her pink dress.
Same. I thought she looked the best. That pink dress fit her like a glove. Some of the others were quite ill-fitting, but that fit her like a glove. And the 3 pink flowers in her hair were stunning. And I thought Julia in the shawl looked like a bit of a nana.
Well, so Marisol and Julia...
Sorry, Julia.
Yeah, exactly. Marisol and Julia planned a surprise birthday for Stephanie, and they had this horse-drawn carriage and this beautiful plaza with, this gorgeous palace. And the first thing Stephanie does is get her husband on the phone and show him the celebration. I'm like, girl, put your damn phone down and enjoy the moment. And then immediately after this, Stephanie sabotages her own fabulous birthday party by going after Alexia for not coming on her private jet. So it's just so annoying. But I say the drama is going to continue because the women are going back to Miami. They're going on a Virgin cruise. And this cruise was arranged by Marisol's new bestie, Richard Dick Branson.
I was like, wait.
I know.
Is that Richard Branson's face on Marisol's phone? Like, why was there no name that was flashed up on the screen? How does she even know him? Is he now a friend of the Housewives?
I guess.
Are they going to give him a recurring sort of like position? Why does he even care about Housewives?
Well, she said that she met Richard Branson in Miami because they were in the same social circles, and his private island, Necker Island, is in the Caribbean, so he's probably in Miami a lot.
Oh, okay. So finally, I'm giving out a second thorn, Fit for TV, The Reality of the Biggest Loser. This doco was actually put together by Skye Borgman, who is also the director of Unknown Number. So this is a 3-part doco, and it's mainly about former contestants who say The Biggest Loser was bad for them. And we even see one former contestant, Danny Cahill, who lost 100 kilograms and he won one of the seasons. But he's now put all that weight back on, probably even more. And he basically says the program he followed on the show wasn't sustainable afterwards.
Well, I never understood how severely obese, sedentary people could go from 0 exercise to basically a hardcore boot camp. It's really dangerous, actually. And I actually felt sorry for the contestant Tracy. She almost died, and then she was made into a villain on the show. And I do love that she kept in touch with the show's doctor and that they ran these marathons together.
Although, in the case of Danny, I did think, you know what, you can't blame all of this on the show. Like, other contestants have managed to keep the weight off. I thought Tracy looks great now. So he knew what he had to do. I mean, why start overeating again?
Yeah, I agree. And I used to watch The Biggest Loser because I actually found it motivational, but watching the doco, I didn't remember things like the food temptation challenges. And it is diabolical to think that if they eat the donut or the burger, that they'll get rewarded and get to see their family. Basically, if they sabotage themselves, they win a prize. That is messed up.
The food temptation challenges have not aged well at all. So my biggest problem with the making of this doco is that Gillian refused to take part in it.
Yeah.
But she now has a lot to say, so why not just take part? I mean, that was the biggest thorn for me because the doco is very unbalanced without her.
Yeah, so she did say she didn't participate because she knew it would be a hit piece. And the producer who bought this at Netflix was also a producer on The Biggest Loser, so she knew that they would make her look bad. So I do think it's interesting how people's attitudes can shift in 10 years or so. And I have to say, Jillian's behavior toward the contestants, is now seen kind of like as abusive and bullying.
Yeah, you know what I did? I went to my vault, my office of old New Idea articles. Because I remembered I'd interviewed her 19 years ago. She was in Australia for Our Biggest Loser back in 2006 because she and Bob Harper actually trained our contestants before we got our own Aussie trainers. I had no idea what I asked her about. I couldn't remember this article at all. But then I read it back and it was a backstory I'd done about how she told me she'd been overweight as a teen. She was 75 kilograms, 165 pounds, and she's 5'3", and then she went down to 52 kilograms. She said she was bullied and once even slashed her wrists. It was actually quite a full-on story.
Oh, wow.
But then a martial arts instructor gave her a harsh wake-up call when she was eating a bag of chips, and he said, when are you going to listen to me and get more fit because I can't do this with you anymore? And that was the moment she knew she had to change. And she then explained to me that people function in their comfort zone so far below their potential and that it's her role to push them to learn how strong they really are. And you see, this is why I wish she had taken part in the doco, because if she'd shared more of her backstory, it would have added more insight into who she really was, why she was like that with contestants. And it would also have given her the right of reply to some of the allegations, because instead we're stuck with this narrative that she was an out-and-out bully and she did all this stuff, which I actually don't really think was the case or the full story.
Well, I'm all for pushing people out of their comfort zones, but I do think screaming in people's faces that they need to keep going unless they puke, faint, or die is not exactly inspiring. But I did read something interesting on TMZ from a contestant named David from season 1. He said that Jillian taught them a trick which involved contestants smearing Preparation H, which is hemorrhoid cream, on their skin to take out water weight the night before a weigh-in. So I've heard of celebrities in the old days using this to get rid of like under eye bags, but smearing it all over your body is next level.
I've done it.
Really? Does it work?
It's called Angus here in Australia.
Oh, okay.
The hemorrhoid cream. Yeah, I tried it. I thought, wow,
Why not?
Pack works. I'm going to try and get rid of my eye bags. Didn't work. Anywho, but I got a whole new tube of Angus
Exactly.
if I don't have hemorrhoids. Look, I think Gillian, because she refused to take part, got a lot of heat directed at her because she's now furious from the sidelines, especially about the claims that she gave the contestants caffeine pills against orders, because she went on her Instagram the week before last. She's posted screenshots on there showing the series doctor approved the pills for years and that Bob himself suggested using them as fat burners. Meanwhile, Bob complained in the doco that she never texted him after his 2017 heart attack, but then she also showed texts from him from years earlier, where he never replied to her. So in other words, why would she text him? So look, if you haven't seen this yet, it is an interesting watch. It's still in the top 10 on Netflix. It's good to see how reality shows used to play out 20 years ago. I'm not sure if things have changed that much. Anyway, think about checking it out.
So that's it for this week. Thanks for listening. I'm Shelley Seddon.
And I'm Flemish Shell.
Join us next week for So Many Receipts.